Welcome everyone to another edition of the Classic Comic Archive, a series where I recap and review many of Marvel Comics' most seminal early issues. Our story for today is Tales of Suspense 40, cover dated April of 1963. This issue marks the second appearance of Iron Man and the first and only appearance of Gargantus, our hero's first super-powered villain. The issue was written by Stan Lee and Robert Bernstein, drawn by Jack Kirby, inked by Don Heck, and lettered by John Duffy. Our issue opens up with a striking splash page, showing our titular hero in the throes of an epic battle against Gargantus. Yet before we can witness such an epic confrontation, we must first learn about the man behind the suit, Tony Stark. He leads three adventurous lives. The first is that of a renowned scientist and inventor, shown receiving an international award in recognition of his microtransistor research. Research that he puts to use building weapons and equipment for the US military, such as his newest invention, transistor-powered roller skates that can transport infantry 60 miles an hour. Yet Stark's second life is that of a millionaire playboy who travels the world in the company of beautiful women. One of these women is Jean of Monte Carlo, who's fallen for Stark's charm. She begs the socialite to take a midnight swim with her, yet he can't and tells her that he's just too tired. Jean thinks this is nothing but a phony excuse to get away with another woman, but Stark truly is exhausted, just not in the way you'd expect. After the events of last issue, he depends on an iron chestplate to keep him alive. He wears it at all times and charges it often, lest the machines inside fail to keep his weary heart beating. But the chestplate is just one piece of a larger suit, one that gives him incredible powers as the invincible Iron Man. This is Stark's third life, where he brings to justice mobsters and mad scientists alike. With this in mind, the issue now shifts to the present, where we see Stark and his date Marion enjoying a night at the circus. That is until several lions, tigers, and jaguars break loose onto the crowd of spectators. While Marion begins fleeing in panic like everyone else, Stark slips away from the crowd and tells her that he's going to a phone booth to alert the police. Yet in reality he heads to a deserted corner under the circus's bleachers and opens up a suitcase he always carries with him. Inside is his Iron Man suit. Despite how bulky the armor appears from the outside, Stark has perfected a method to completely collapse it within his suitcase, so that he can don it at a moment's notice. That's exactly what he's doing now, as he puts on the suit and heads back to save the crowd from the cats. Yet as Iron Man passes by frightened spectators, he realizes that they're just as afraid of him as they are of the beasts. It seems that his suit's dull gray exterior lacks any sense of humanity, leading some to think that he's a mechanical monster. The hero stashes the thought away and saves a spectator from a pouncing jaguar. But as he's wrestling with the cat, more arrive, seemingly ready to strike all at once. Thinking quickly, Iron Man hurls the jaguar in his arms into a tiger. But two more cats still have him surrounded and are ready to pounce. Thus he uses his suit's jet boots to leap above them the moment they strike, which sends them crashing into each other. When he returns to the ground, the hero stands still and lets the cats claw at his armor. Yet their strikes don't even leave a scratch, but do give him time to produce an electric current throughout the exterior of his suit, which shocks the cats and sends them fleeing back to their cages. With the crowd saved, Iron Man slinks away and changes back into his civilian attire of Tony Stark. He then meets up with his date Marion, who tells him of Iron Man's amazing rescue, but remarks that his suit is quite terrifying. Stark asks Marion what she thinks the hero should wear instead, and she says that he should wear a golden suit, as he's akin to a modern-day knight in shining armor. Stark quite likes the idea, and tells Marion that he wouldn't be surprised if Iron Man did just that. The couple then head to the airport, where Marion prepares to board a departing flight, but tells her date that she'll be back next Saturday, specifically on the 6:50 flight from Granville. After saying goodbye, Stark returns to his laboratory and takes Marion's advice, coating his entire suit in an untarnishable gold finish. With that, the issue then jumps forward to the Saturday of Marion's return from Granville. Stark waits for her at the airport, yet she never arrives. He asks a pilot about her flight, but is oddly told that the Granville airport has been shut down for the past 3 days. It turns out that Stark had been in Africa while Marion was away and hadn't been paying much attention to American news. Yet when he picks up a copy of the latest newspaper, he learns that a mysterious wall has been erected around the entire town of Granville, preventing anyone from getting in or out. It seems that no one knows why the wall suddenly appeared, but Stark decides he's going to find out as the invincible Iron Man. So the next day he travels to Granville and greets a pair of state troopers outside the town's walls. They tell him that the state and federal government's hands are tied in the matter, for as peculiar as the wall is, the town has every legal right to build it. But this isn't good enough for Iron Man, who slinks away from the troopers unseen and burrows a tunnel underneath a wall with a powerful drill encased in his suit. When he emerges from within the town, he's met by a group of residents. Yet none of them are glad he's there. In fact, they start hurling rocks and trash at the hero, as they claim they don't want to disobey the will of someone named Gargantus. Confused, Iron Man flees from the angry mob to search for more answers. He next stumbles onto an enormous statue of a Neanderthal, which a group of townspeople are worshipping like a god. Yet the angry mob has caught up with Iron Man and race to defeat the hero in the name of Gargantus. Thus Iron Man realizes the town is under some sort of spell and suspects that its source is the Neanderthal statue. So the hero mightily rams a large truck into the effigy, which topples it over and reduces it to rubble. Yet the townsfolk hardly seem to notice as they continue to praise Gargantus. Iron Man decides it's time to confront this mysterious figure, so he flies to the roof of a nearby building and broadcasts a challenge to Gargantus. With a mighty roar, the massive Neanderthal quickly arrives to meet the iron intruder. Carrying an enormous club, it seems that Gargantus is eager to vanquish Iron Man. Yet instead of striking the hero down, the brute begins intently staring at him with bright yellow eyes. Iron Man realizes that the villain's gaze is hypnotic, but luckily his suit protects him from its effects. Yet the hero also notices that the sun has been blocked out by a mysterious and unmoving dark cloud, leaving Gargantus with no light from which to so brightly reflect his hypnotic stare. Starting to piece the truth together, Iron Man then hoists a flagpole into the air and feels a breeze. But at this point Gargantus has realized that Iron Man can't be hypnotized, so he pulls out his club and begins swinging at the hero. Iron Man avoids the strike and jumps off of the building he's on. On the ground he recognizes one of the hypnotized townsfolk as Marion, but doesn't have long to catch up as Gargantus is hot on his trail. The Neanderthal chases the hero as he adjusts some transistors on 3 electromagnets. Just as the brute gets close enough to strike at him, Iron Man tosses his 3 magnets at Gargantus. The Neanderthal isn't what he seems, as the electromagnets find themselves attracted to him and begin pulling him apart from the inside out. Yet Gargantus's end is not a gruesome display of blood and guts, but of nuts and bolts, as it's revealed he's nothing more than a powerful robot. With the brute's demise, the townsfolk begin to awaken from their trance. Meanwhile our hero turns his attention to the mysterious unmoving dark cloud. He powerfully points a spotlight at it, which shines through the darkness and reveals inside a flying saucer. As Iron Man hurls his 3 magnets at the alien invaders, he explains that he could tell Gargantus was a robot from the lack of sunlight for his hypnotic beams to so brightly reflect. Instead he deduced that they must have been produced electronically. He could also tell that something was afoot with the dark cloud, as it was unmoving, yet as evidenced by the flagpole, there was a strong breeze throughout the town. But inside the saucer itself are a pair of green aliens, panicked at the sight of Iron Man's incoming magnets. They quickly flee Earth, but not before revealing that they had visited the planet 80,000 years ago and had finally returned, yet only to find that simple Neanderthals had been replaced with inventive and powerful humans like Iron Man. The story subsequently ends as our hero begins tearing down the wall surrounding Granville and returns to Marion the next day as Tony Stark. She tells him of Iron Man's second amazing rescue this issue. The playboy pretends it's news to him, but silently jokes to himself that no one else has ever gone through so much trouble to track down a stood-up date. That concludes Iron Man's second appearance in Tales of Suspense 40 and another episode of the Classic Comic Archive. But as always, I would like to offer a brief review of this issue. Overall, I thought that this was a solid second story for Iron Man. In my review of the last issue, I noted that I was hoping subsequent stories would lean into the hero's intelligence rather than his strength. In that sense, this issue delivered exactly what I was hoping for. Gargantus actually being an alien robot was a clever twist that I didn't see coming, and although he and his creators weren't very complex villains, I can still appreciate the goofy fun they brought to the story. Yet their appearance also leaves me somewhat disappointed. As I noted in the beginning of the video, this is Gargantus's one and only appearance in all of Marvel Comics, which I think is a waste of a villain that I could see working in other titles. In any case, let me know what you thought of this issue and the video, and feel free to suggest other classic comics for me to cover. Thanks for watching.